Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking another look at the Kozma. This is going to be a Lighthouse build. I said I had to try it, and I have now done so. It feels really good, I'm not gonna lie. It feels a lot like a Nevsky. Bit of an extreme comparison, I suppose, but this is a very powerful ship at tier 9. This ship, of course, being a Donskoi hull, a little better armor, and you get plane-based ASWs. Very nice quality of life improvement. Not sure why Donskoi doesn't have them. It's got the ship-based ones, which are useless. So Wargaming, maybe buff Donskoi there a little bit. Why do we even have ship-based ones on cruisers, let alone DDs? I don't know. You need the planes, guys. You really do, to have a comfortable time against submarines. As comfortable as it gets. But that's a rant for another time. Back to the Lighthouse build, though, on this thing. Rune DPM is pretty good. And what's good about this ship here is that you retain Donskoi's radar. On top of that, you get an engine boost. So running a Lighthouse build isn't too bad, alongside this amazing turret angles. So we actually get like a 27-degree angle firing backwards like this while kiting. Engine boost up means you're pretty good at dodging incoming fire. And I compare this to Nevsky. This is a bit of an extreme comparison, of course, but Nevsky's HE salvo is 20,000 alpha damage. Exactly the same as Kozma. Of course, Nevsky has a 6-second base reload, where we have a 9.5-second base reload. But with a Lighthouse build, you're going to notice we start to get a little closer to that 6-second mark. It's around 7.5 right now with no adrenaline rush. So it's a bit of a tier 9 Nevsky, kind of. It feels a little better on the HE, to be honest with you, because of the HE pen. That's where the German guns do have a very nice advantage, getting us over 51 millimeters of pen versus Donskoi and Nevsky that only have 30 millimeters of pen. And you retain that fire chance, of course, if you want that major threshold of 32 millimeters. Nevsky and Donskoi do need to take IFHE, cutting their fire chance in half. Feels pretty comfortable, I'm not gonna lie, to be playing this ship with a Lighthouse build. The downside, of course, is your turning rate, or really the turning radius is so bad on Donskoi hull. But with this build, we're taking rudder instead of concealment in the 5th or 6th upgrade slot? 5th upgrade slot. So we get a pretty decent rudder shift. It's not too bad, as long as you're not doing that full suicide turn where you're stuck broadside for a very long time, thanks to that terrible, terrible turning radius. As for the AP on this thing, it does have higher alpha than Nevsky as well. So I don't think it's going to be a tier 9 Nevsky exactly. Of course, Nevsky could run a Lighthouse build and get even more damage output too, but it's pretty close. Malta actually brought up a good point when I was talking to him about this that I didn't consider quite so much, is that this is just a better Donskoi and Rune. We're selling a better ship than the tech tree counterparts. I don't necessarily think Rune and Donskoi are that meta-defining at tier 9, but it is still a good point that this ship is just a better version of those two ships. You get the radar versus a Rune, and of course, compared to Donskoi, I think these guns are actually better. You're missing out on a tiny bit of HE DPM. Your AP DPM is better, but I think the actual pen on the HE makes up for that extra DPM you have on Donskoi, at least usually. So it's a pretty strong ship, and it's pretty expensive, of course. We should talk about the price again. $100 Canadian, pretty typical tier 9 price we see. At least it's not only an Admiral pack or gambling or something like that. You can get a normal ship pack for this thing. I don't recommend you buy it though, unless you're really, really looking for this exact ship at tier 9. Typically around this time, a couple months from now, we're going to get through Black Friday as well as the year of premium time. Those are the best values, I think, when it comes to spending money on World of Warships. If you're interested, that's going to be the best opportunity to get the most for your money. But a decent farming ship this certainly is, and not that I'm going to necessarily run this build all the time. I think it's a pretty interesting example of a cruiser with decent range and HE pen can have a good time with this Lighthouse build. Even Charles, I think, gets a Citadel there on us, though. So that suicide turn, man, you gotta be very, very, very careful of it. But now we're set up in a pretty solid position to farm this enemy flank here. This is what you're going to want to do with this build in particular. I think you get a little bit less value out of the ship overall to help your team win, especially considering this 12-kilometer radar is so powerful around these caps. But we're pretty close to the A cap, and the enemy team still hasn't managed to cap it. So I guess they're respecting the radar, I guess. Or they're just more focused on just neutralizing my entire team, because that is what's happening this game. This range is really nice, though. 18.5 is solid at tier 9. The Donskoi actually only has 17.8 kilometers of range. So, you know, small buffs here and there. It is a little bit better. I think the actual damage output you're seeing from the HE here is pretty lucky as far as this game goes. The fires are a little bit over the top. I don't think I typically would get this lucky. Instant double fire here on the Synop. Heavy HE is also playing a role here in making the alpha damage on the HE look a little bit better, but that's what you do with the full Lighthouse build. I think overall a better way to play this ship is just going to be run a more standard build, so you're closer to caps, and then swap to the AP when you're getting those broadsides. In the third game, I'm actually going to really focus on using AP the most. I played a lot of HE spam on this ship, but I had to try the AP, and it actually worked out reasonably well. But look at how we're just able to chill and farm from range. It's not exactly difficult in a cruiser, but in this case, I guess we do have the added bonus of not getting fully overmatched by a Synop. Once you get that 30mm overmatched battleship, it could be a lot worse, and we're on half HP, so our reload is feeling pretty good at this point. Another set of fires right after he damage controls. Poor Synop, man. I mean, do we feel bad for a Synop? Maybe we do. It's tier 9 random battles. That ship's a bit of a menace, though, in tier 7 ranked, let's be honest. And the very consistent damage. Although against a Synop, the deck armor there is not enough to shatter any of the Donskoi HE, so maybe not giving us too much an advantage here. But 130k damage feels pretty good, and that's no Witherer yet, even though we have 10 fires. So a lot of that is coming from just the raw alpha damage of the ship, which is really nice to see. It's a very solid tier 9 cruiser, I think. But again, I would recommend you guys wait. Black Friday coming up is going to be good. I hope it's going to be good. We'll see how many of the old ships they bring back. I hope they do. The typical result is that all the old Black Friday ships become available again, and that's where you're going to get that really good deal. Another just parting fire there. Very lucky on the fires in this one. Got up over 140k, and the end of that game was not very pretty, as you can probably imagine. But here we're going to have an Edinburgh. This time, broadside on. We got the AP loaded. Yeah, this is where the AP is going to be good. You don't have any special pen or improved pen angles, but against cruisers especially, you want to use the AP. Unfortunately, we do miss that first salvo. Whether or not we had the best aim, or if that was just not locked on dispersion, doesn't really matter. We did not get the damage. 1 Citadel second salvo, triple Citadel third, and he's nearly done for. Yeah, that's what we want to see. And I think that's really why I won't be necessarily running the full Lighthouse build. I value the concealment a little bit higher than this small buff to our HE alpha damage, because the AP has such high alpha that we want to be swapping to that anyway against broadsides, and then we're not getting any advantage out of the heavy HE. It is nice, but I value that concealment a little bit more. Maybe running the full rudder, though, not taking full concealment is an idea, but this not taking any conceal hurts. It really hurts. Broadside Duncan here. Look at that acceleration. Barely clip him. Still 2,000 damage from 1 full pen. That's pretty good. This AP is surprisingly potent when you're getting those full pens. 5,000 damage from only 2 full pens, 2 over pens. The full salvo getting full pens, man, that's a lot of damage, actually. The German AP has such high alpha damage. I mean, I've complained about this in the past, but this is a long time ago now. Hindenburg and the whole German line, these German guns, used to not pen over 50 millimeters of armor. It used to have just standard HE pen. It's one of the buffs they made to that ship so many years ago. And when they did, I really wished they had made it an AP-focused boat, given it improved pen angles or something like that, or even slightly improved pen angles like we see on Petro, for example. I thought it would have been really cool to have a more AP-focused line on the German cruisers as their gimmick. Of course, we have that nowadays, as the game has progressed quite a lot. So this 51 millimeters of HE pen is quite unique nowadays, but back then, man, I just love the AP salvos that you can get from these guns. It's just not particularly consistent. Nagato here going to really struggle against this HE. Pretty good damage, and again, the fires. Maybe I wasn't getting lucky. Maybe it was just that this ship has insane fire chance, and relatively accurate guns means we get pretty consistent damage output from them. Plane-based ASWs mean I can push in here and hopefully help my team against this submarine. Broadside Lazo here. Yeah, we're hopefully gonna get some citadels, and I mean, why don't we have plane-based ASWs for everything, man? You just can't really play. It's so suicidal to just full rush a sub at most points in the game, unless the game is basically over like it is now. Just give everything plane-based ones. We already have hybrid DDs, right? The Hafford. I'm gonna have to take a look at that soon, I guess, for the Cold DD series, but just give everything, including DDs. It's so much better. So much better to fight these things. It's still not fun, but it's better. And poor Donskoi doesn't even have these plane-based ones. So that is an upgrade, again, that this ship will get. Lazo now angling to us means I probably want to switch to the HE. And we're going to take some pain here since we are so broadside. They're going to get some more consistent HE against us. We should take out the Lazo here. We got the sub, fortunately. And again, another game over 130,000 damage. High cal in this one means there wasn't a lot of HP available to us, but it is fairly decent damage. Only 4 fires in this one. I did shoot quite a bit of HE still. I think that's more down to most of the points already being on fire from teammates. You saw how fast that Nagato got lit up on fires. So pretty decent, as well as a Confederate. Okay, we're spreading out the damage reasonably well. That means we're doing a good job of helping our teammates by dealing damage to multiple targets, especially into these destroyers, submarines, that kind of thing. But this game is pretty much wrapped up here. A little bit different match where first one was blowout against us. This one was blowout in our favor. Still had okay games, but I prefer the closer matches, I think, a lot more. But a really good result overall. Pretty nice credits. I'm pretty sure I have blue boosters, though, attached to this one, so don't read too much into that. Blue boosters do a lot of heavy lifting, but Tier 9 premiums, of course, do have very, very nice credit earning potential. Tier 10 special ships have that credit reduction to its servicing cost, but they don't have the multiplier to the actual credits you earn. So you still get more credits than a normal Tier 10 because you're not spending as much to service them. But still, it's the Tier 9s that are really going to earn you the most credits in this game. Third game here, trying to spam more AP, and it goes all right. It goes all right, but this is really where I think the best way to play this ship is going to be HE into angled targets and AP only when you're getting those cruiser broadsides at range, or maybe battleships at a little closer range where you can consistently hit the upper belt. Into the Tennessee here, we're going to get quite a few overpens into his superstructure. That's because there's no improved shell arming times, I guess. So it's going to do some decent damage when we hit the upper belt, but it's hard to consistently hit that upper belt. 4K there from that salvo, or at least 2 of our guns. It's nice. The AP is quite nice, and you should be using it. And it does so much damage to broadsides that's why I don't necessarily think it should just be an only HE spammer. This goes for the German cruisers as well, Rune, Hindenburg. Certainly the Hipper with its much longer reload. You want to be making use of that higher alpha damage on that one. But Rune and Hindenburg do have better DPM and reloads. You could spam the HE a lot more in it. But when people go broadside, definitely give that AP a swap. It does some very, very solid damage. I've been playing rather passive, of course, considering it's a Lighthouse build. What do you expect? We're going to be at the back of the map waiting for people to push into us and then just spamming them, trying to kill them quickly. This time I get a little impatient. It's starting to look like the end of the game, a blowout. Got all the caps, or I guess they're both about to get C. And I make a big mistake. I'm caught bow in a relatively lightly armored cruiser that is pretty large. We don't have the best maneuverability. Don't want to turn away because there's a Tennessee on the enemy team. I think we know what would happen if I was to turn out versus a Tennessee. Not good things for me, I can assume. We barely dodge the torpedoes. It forces us even closer. Azuma swaps to the AP. We're very fortunate to not just die here. And we're stuck bow in. This is probably going to be our death, but Tennessee doesn't overmatch us. Outside of superstructure, I guess. Gets a decent hit in there. Iparanga guns aren't that amazing. Azuma HE probably kills us rather quickly. But look on the map. The Flint is actually coming in with the clutch smoke. I don't deserve it for playing so badly and pushing like this, but he's helping us anyway. I appreciate it, bro. We'll definitely give him a compliment. I still haven't noticed, by the way. In this one, I'm just like, I guess I'll try and reverse out of this situation. This is quite bad. HE pen doing wonders on that Iparanga. And there it is. The smoke comes into view. So helpful. Thank you. And look at how low he is, too. Big risk for him to do that. Thank you, man. This is really nice, though, against these Pan-American battleships. If you're struggling to deal with them, definitely go grind or pull out some of the cruisers or any ships, really, that have 51 millimeters of HE pen or more, and just spam that HE. Not only is it going to give you full damage, but you're going to light some fires, as well as potentially break those secondaries. That's something you can do as well. They have pretty good HP, though, let's be honest, but you can destroy them. Certainly if you're playing things like Conqueror or anything of those British HE farming battleships, it can do some good damage as well as knock out those secondaries. It is possible, especially if they're pushing in rather aggressively, which I think most Pan-American battleship commanders should be doing, although maybe not all the time. Tennessee here about to go down. Very, very fortunate for us. Now we can turn away and hopefully not just die. Unfortunately, the Flint does go down. I'm sorry. I kind of drew attention, I guess, to this smoke. But huge thank you for that clutch smoke. I do not live here otherwise. I guarantee you that. 1.8 million potential damage. Not too bad for this ship. You certainly could do higher if you're just not getting stuck bow in, I suppose. Pretty nice damage on this AP, though, against this Iparanga there. I think that was like an 8k salvo, something like that, with just the front guns. Kind of ridiculous. And then we get 4 overpens. Little bit inconsistent at times, as always with AP, but that alpha damage is very, very nice to have. And another one, over 130,000 damage. Lighthouse build's all right. But again, I do think the better way to play this ship is going to be a more standard build. We'll look at the Lighthouse, though. If you're interested in playing it, it can do pretty well. But you just lose out on so much utility because you're forced to play a little further back and you don't have that radar for the cap zones quite as easily. You still can, but it's quite a bit harder to do. And for those of you that do have this ship, picked it up, let us know how it's going for you. What builds are you using? Are you liking it? That way, those who are interested can have more perspectives on it. As for this Lighthouse build, this one was a little bit more focused to AP towards the end. I swapped away from the heavy HE and sap in that last game because, again, I wanted to spam the armor piercing. But when you're on the HE, then, of course, we want heavy HE and sap shells. I also swapped consumables over to Demo Expert for the first 2 games, I believe, and that allowed us to get a little bit more fire chance and a little bit more damage out of this thing. You could swap from Conceal over to Survivability Expert and take some other stuff too to really maximize the ship. I've swapped back since to a more reasonable build. I would say 12.6 Detect is more comfortable on this thing. Although I really, really liked the rudder shift we got out of the Lighthouse build. So I might see, actually, how much, what's our Conceal? 14. 14 Conceal to get a 6.3 second rudder. I might do that on this ship going forward. Although who knows how much I'll end up playing it. We'll see, but that's not bad. That's not bad. Just low HP pool when you do this. Pretty low HP pool. And armor-wise, of course, you're, well, 30, 27. That's not so bad, I guess. I think Donskoi is just a little bit worse. I didn't talk about that in the video. I probably should have. Let's see. Preview ship, armor layout. Yeah, 27, 25. So it is a better hull. Interesting. Just enough better that it does matter. 30 does matter. Even though there's a lot of 30 mil overmatch, that does matter. 406s suddenly do a little bit less against you. But that's going to do it for the Kozma, this time with the Lighthouse builds and some AP spamming at the end, just to see how it goes. Pretty powerful ship at tier 9, I gotta say. Certainly much better than a Donskoi or a Rune, in my opinion. You get the Rune DPM with a Donskoi hull, but it's an improved hull with an engine boost and the better ASWs. How much that counts for, I don't know, but that's going to do it. Let me know what you think again in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.